we're going to actually get started. Just for the sake of time, I want to be able to get through the presentation and have time for questions, which I think are where we often learn a lot with those questions. It can take us into different avenues of the materials that we've covered, which gives us that added bonus material, which is great. So thank you for coming today. This is our second well session, and it's focused on nutrition, which I think as we all gear up to get back on routines with children or just schedules, having to get out a little earlier so you don't get caught behind the bus, which will be me soon. So this hopefully will give us some tools to put in our toolbox around healthy snacking, ways to set meals and so forth to help us with that real life nutrition, which is critical. So today we have Jacqueline Fedor with us. She's a registered dietitian with Nutrition Counseling of New England. Welcome, Jacqueline, to Nashua. I'm glad to have you. And one of the housekeeping things that I just want to mention, this is being recorded for all of those staff that are not able to get here live. So if you have a question, just put your hand up. And what I'll do is I'll run the mic over to you, and we'll get the question answered that way, just so that everyone has all the same information and that we're not missing anything. So, all right, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Like Christy said, my name is Jacqueline. I've been a dietitian in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, practicing for 12 years. I'm also a classically trained chef. I went to Johnson & Wales, so food is kind of like my whole world, pretty much. I'm glad you guys have snacks, because we're going to talk a lot about food, and I'm hopefully, my goal is to leave you with some inspiration. Leave here with like, oh, that sounds good. I think I want to make that for dinner this week, and that snack sounds good, and all of that, okay? If you have any questions, like Christy said, just let us know, and we'll get them answered. So first we're going to start talking about meal planning. Does anyone here do any type of meal planning? Couple? Good. I say anything from an organized grocery list before you go to the grocery store to full-blown cooking everything on Sunday, putting it in color-coded containers and putting it in your fridge and make it look all nice. And anything in between. That's all meal planning, okay? I have worked with thousands and thousands of people, and I just know from experience, the cooking all day in the color-coded containers just doesn't work for a lot of people. If I had $1 for every time someone said to me that the leftovers don't sound good on Wednesday, I say like, I know, they wouldn't sound good to me either. So when I talk about meal planning, don't feel like, oh, I can't do this, I don't want to do it, I don't want to waste my Sunday. That's not the kind I'm talking about. What I think is beneficial is having some sort of plan, and whether that happens on Sunday or on Wednesday or on Friday or whatever works for you, but having some organization through your week, answering the questions, what am I going to eat, and where is that going to come from, okay? So that's kind of like my point of view when it comes to meal planning, and this is something that, you know, of course, I love, and I do myself, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I do it for my family of 5. So why is it important to at least plan something? It is really important to reduce the amount of decisions you have to make after work, because after work, do you have the most amount of energy, willpower, and motivation? No. If someone after 3 p.m. asks me what's for dinner, my immediate response is anger. Like, why are you asking me? Even though that is my responsibility. But it's just the end of the day, we don't want to make those decisions. So whether you're cooking everything from start to finish every weeknight or not, because you're using some leftovers or some takeout, having a plan in place is going to eliminate impulsive decisions. And that's what we want. What does an impulsive decision look like on a weeknight for most people? It's walking in the door, opening up the fridge, saying, yeah, I don't know, and then going to the pantry and getting Wheat Thins, right? Like, that's an impulsive decision. I'm hungry now, and I don't know what to cook for the full meal, so I'm gonna get a snack. Does that resonate with anyone? Like, have you felt that before? Yeah, it's mostly a universal experience. So what we want is just some type of organization. So you're not thinking about, at that hour, oh, what am I going to eat? Okay? And I'm using dinner for a lot of these examples, but it's all meals. So here are some steps to just get yourself organized for when it comes to meal planning. Think about, what do you want to eat during the week? Not what's the easiest, or what should I eat, what is healthy, what do you want to eat? Because if you're not looking forward to what you're planning on having and what you bought at the grocery store, you're not going to do it. I did have someone come to me at one point saying that they had Greek yogurt and granola and berries and all that kind of stuff for lunch every single day. And they, in the same breath, told me they hated Greek yogurt. I said, what? Why are you doing it? And they said, I heard it's really good for you. It's high in protein and has probiotics. I'm like, well, that's true. But nothing is so healthy that you have to eat it if you hate it. I promise you that. There is nothing out there. You have to actually like the foods that you're eating, okay? That is part of staying committed to this long term, eating healthy. Okay? Complete a weekly meal planning worksheet. I'm going to show you a version of what that looks like. This is how I do it. It is very simple, and it is just a way to get yourself organized. Okay, it's just one example of that. And then, of course, before you do any type of shopping, see what you have on hand, okay, and cross that off your list. So first, plan what do you want to eat. Make a grocery shopping list. Check off anything on that list before you leave the house if you already have it, and then do your shopping, okay? It can be just as simple as that. This is the example of the weekly meal planning sheet, and then you'll get a copy of too when we put up the slide deck and the recording. Just an outline of what are you going to have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, okay? Whether it is takeout or a restaurant, or it's something that you're cooking from scratch, or it's an assembly meal, I call it. Like a salad to me is just is assembling things. Whatever you are having, you put it down on paper. Now, I have the most variety in my diet, and most of the people I work with, at dinner time, where breakfast and lunch, just keep it simple. That works for a lot of people. Reduce the amount of decision making. Have your 2-3 breakfast and lunch options that you like, that work for you, and rotate them. Don't make it overly complicated, okay? And keep it the same until you get sick of it. And then when you get sick of something like, I can't have another egg, okay, now we change it. But don't jump in to getting back into these routines with too much variety, because it is a lot of work. It can be a lot of work. So this is just putting down what meals you're going to have when. This could be a mixture of brand new recipes you want to try and family favorite recipes that are just staples in your household that you love, okay? Everything. Once you have the plan, then you do the shopping list. Basically what I do is I look at the meals that I'm going to have for the week, and then I start picking out the produce I need for each of those meals. And I write it in the fruit and vegetable column. And then I pick out what meats I need to buy, and dairy, and all of those things. And then before you know it, in honestly just a couple of minutes, I have my list organized by department. Okay? It's really simple. It can be really simple with practice. And this is exactly how I do it. Now, I don't print out these sheets anymore and do it on paper. I actually do it in the notes section of my phone and keep them. They're all in a folder, years of them, in the notes section of my phone. Sunday through Thursday is what I put for dinners, then the shopping list right below it, and I save them. And I save them for when I'm like, I don't know, what are we gonna have this week? I just can't think of anything. And then I scroll through and I find a random one, and I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about those. That sounds good. And it's done. Okay? So this could be really valuable if it's something that you repeat over and over and over again. Now, does anyone remember the old food guide pyramid?
Yes.
Yes? Do you remember what was at the bottom? Wheat. Yeah. Breads and cereal grains. And the amount of servings that we were told we were supposed to have of those things a day, 9 to 11. Okay, how times have changed. So this, now we have something different. It's called My Plate. It's good. This is my version of that, of basically like looking at all the food you eat over a week's time, and what proportion of these food groups are you eating to one another, okay? And I call this my building your menu, stairs to success. I can come up with all different names of it. But this is like the visual of what I see, okay? I see a bulk of your diet, the majority of your diet, and I'm talking to pretty much everyone, should be fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, okay? That's the majority. Then everything else, it's just a little bit less of those things. Think your starchy vegetables, your healthy fats, grains, dairy, and then other. What would be something that's in the other category?
Candy.
What did you say?
Candy.
Candy, yes.
Chocolate.
chocolate. Here's all your holiday stuff. Here's the seasonal things you're looking forward to. A pumpkin spice latte, grandma's famous cookies. I mean, that's where those things live. And I do believe in that. It's called an all foods fit mentality. I don't think you have to pull anything from your diet unless it makes you physically sick, if you don't want to. However, it's the proportion, right? It's how often and how much are you having those things compared to some of these others, okay? So that's kind of the lens I look at pretty much everything through. Okay, so building your menu. So again, those staples, non-starchy vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, your carbohydrates. When looking at a plate, I think of protein, carbs, fat, and a pop of color. Most of the time that pop of color is coming from what? Produce, right? Fruits or vegetables, things like that. When you eat in that fashion, it is almost a home run when it comes to meeting your needs. Having enough protein, having enough fiber, things like that, okay? Now, I do think that, like I said, you don't have to cook all day on Sunday and set yourself up, but being a little organized when it comes to certain things can be helpful. What does a little organized look like? Depends on really what you want to eat. It could be hard boiling a dozen eggs. It could be cutting up that big cantaloupe you just bought. It could be washing all your bell peppers and cucumbers. It could be things like that, okay? Just a couple of little things to like get you one step closer to dinner's on the table, okay? Try to think of meal planning and meal prep from that point of view, not I have to make this recipe from start to finish and then just eat the leftovers, but what are some couple of things that you can do to just give yourself a head start? There are a lot of things that you can batch cook if that's something that's going to be useful to you. I like to batch cook grains. That's the easiest thing for me. I know I'm going to eat it. I like farro, I like rice, and I like quinoa. Those are things that if we're going to have them for the week, I just cook a couple cups worth of them, and then we might have them 2-3 times, or it's easy to throw into my lunches, or our family's lunches. The other thing is proteins. It's easy to grill off a whole bunch of chicken. It's easy to cook like one big roast and then shred that up and have that a couple of different ways during the week. Anything to just give you that little edge, that little head start. That's what I like. Most of my vegetables I cook day of, just because that's how I prefer them, taste preference wise, but that is something else that you could batch cook, sheet trays of roasted vegetables or something like that, okay? Does anyone do any sort of meal prep in this way now? Sometimes? Good, excellent. Okay, so now we're gonna run through a whole bunch of ideas for breakfast, lunches, dinners that are hopefully going to give you some inspiration if you feel like you are in a rut or you are just bored of the same old, okay? So egg dishes. Eggs are beautiful nutrition. They are really good for us, okay? You can have them any way you want. I had someone tell me one time that they don't want to have eggs because they can't do scrambled egg whites. And I was like, oh, who told you had to have scrambled egg whites only? I'm so sorry, because I know that's not that good tasting. And they were putting fat-free cheese on it. Has anyone ever had fat-free cheese? Don't. It is like, it's plastic. It's plastic. That's what it tastes like. So you can have eggs however you want them. Do you like them over easy? Do you like an egg baked? Do you like stuff in there, like spinach and onions and tomatoes and things like that? Do you like them hard-boiled? However, but eggs are beautiful nutrition. It's a wonderful thing for us to have for breakfast. Sweet potato hash, so this is great for someone who either has the egg ick, which is something I just learned about, or someone who can't have eggs. So it's another savory breakfast option, which isn't as common as sweeter breakfast options when you're omitting the eggs. But this is basically like any type of ground meat you want. You could do some chicken sausage, you could do ground turkey or anything like that. Add in diced sweet potato and then any other veggies you want. Bell peppers and onions and things like tomatoes, things like that. And you just make a hash out of it like that, like cook it down. I like to stir, 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 then not touch it, let that bottom layer get nice and crispy, and then like even some charred pieces, then move it around a little bit. Great way to have something savory in the morning, or really at any time, without eggs. Overnight oats, does anyone do anything like this sometimes? Yeah? it's great. I eat oats cold way more than I eat them hot. That's just a taste preference thing. I do love overnight oats, and typically we do them when the peanut butter jar is just about empty, and I do it in the peanut butter jar, and it's really good. But anyways, it's just a way where you soak oats ahead of time so that you can just have them first thing in the morning. You can add in whatever type of liquid you want, milk, almond milk. You could do water if you wanted. Some people put in some yogurt, which is really great, makes them creamy. Chia seeds, flax seeds, those types of seeds are really nutrient dense, high omega-3, which are anti-inflammatory fatty acids and great in fiber. And then you can fancy it up the next morning with whatever toppings you want, berries or granola or a sliced banana or anything like that you want. What I like about overnight oats is you can make them, of course, ahead of time. You don't have to just make it the night before. So if you're going to do it, put that effort into that prep, make 3. And then you know, you don't have to have it every single morning, but a couple mornings during the week, you have breakfast done. Yogurt parfait, so a great way for you to layer in other flavors of all cold things. This would be what I mentioned as like an assembly type of breakfast. You're just putting things together instead of cooking something from scratch. Great for time constraints. I like Greek yogurt because of the protein content, or skyr. Does anyone know what that is? Icelandic yogurt. There's a couple brands in the grocery store. Pretty high in protein too. Siggy's is one brand, and then Icelandia Provisions, I think, is another one. They're popular. If you don't like Greek yogurt because you think it's too thick or too tangy, try skyr, because it's not as thick and it's not as tangy, but it's still pretty high in protein, which is good. And then whatever you like for toppings. For granola, I love Purely Elizabeth. Has anyone ever had that before? It's delicious. It's my favorite. And great nutrients in there. And then I always add extra flax and chia seeds. Oh, grams of sugar. Okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. So if you are looking at the label of anything, okay, but there's a lot of added sugar in granola and yogurt, which is why this is relevant here. But if you are looking at the label, on the nutrition facts label, you will see added sugar in grams. If you take that number and divide it by 4, that's going to put those grams of added sugar into teaspoons. And it's a lot easier for you to visualize. So if you pick up a yogurt and it says 40 grams of sugar, there's none really that high, I'm just being dramatic. But if it says 40 grams of sugar and you're like, oh, okay, divide by 4, that's 10. Would I put 10 teaspoons of sugar in a plain yogurt? No, you probably wouldn't, right? So that just might be a way for you to evaluate and say, yeah, that's probably too high in sugar for what I want. But if it's 1 or 2, would you add a teaspoon or 2 of honey if you bought plain yogurt? Probably. That's a lot more reasonable, okay? Okay, protein shakes and smoothies. So protein shakes would be something with the addition of a protein powder, and then smoothies just don't have the supplement added to. Great way for you to have a meal all in one cup that's easy to go. There's a lot of great protein powders out there if that's something that you like, anything from a collagen or a whey or a vegan protein. There are pretty good ones out there. I also like this if someone is having some type of GI issues where they just feel bloated or they don't feel like they're digesting their food really well. This could be something that may help if you add it in, because a lot of that digestion's done, right? The mechanical part, it's blended. So it might be a little bit easier if you experience some of those things. It's something that's worth a shot, but great way to have that on the go in one vessel type of breakfast. Okay, now on to some lunch ideas. Leftovers are just pretty much the obvious. This is what I have 9 times out of 10 when it comes to lunch, just because when I'm doing that weekly meal planning worksheet or just thinking through that, it's one less meal I have to think about. I just know I'm going to have leftovers in some fashion. Salads, of course, my number one assembly, low to no cook meal, which I think is great. What I don't like, or I should say what I see often in people who say to me they don't like salads or they don't want to eat salads, is because they're used to lettuce, cucumber, and tomato. And like, you know, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to just have that either. Think of your salads as having less lettuce and more stuff. Put more stuff in there. Bell peppers and radishes and chopped up carrots and celery and leftover grilled zucchini from last night, and you have one burger left over from the grill, chop that up and add that in. Pickles, olives, banana peppers, roasted red peppers. There's so many good flavorful things that you can add in there so that salad is actually something that you want to eat, okay? Think of your favorite restaurant salad. Okay, there's one place that we go to that I love, and it's arugula, it's pecans, it's strawberries and watermelon and goat cheese and pickled celery. I would never think about putting pickled celery in a salad, but it works perfectly, okay? And now I try to recreate that at home. So again, just thinking of food you really do want to eat. Soups, we are kind of knocking at the door of soup season. Not quite yet, but we're getting there. Soups I just think of as like the wintertime salad, okay? It's all the same stuff. It's proteins and vegetables and aromatics. It's just hot with liquid, all right? Great way for you to practice cooking, learning how to layer flavors in a really simple one-pot meal, okay? When I send the slide deck, I'm gonna send what's called my soup formula, which is basically a way, it's like a non-recipe recipe. It's just the method of, pick your aromatics, pick your protein, pick your liquid, pick your final flavor, and how to make a soup. But from those categories, you pick and choose the ingredients. But it's a way where you can make a really flavorful soup. Sandwiches, a lot of people that I work with think that sandwiches just innately are bad, and food has no morality. Sandwiches are not bad, okay? You can make a sandwich that is really nutrient dense and good for you, all right? When choosing bread, I like to look for either sprouted grain or 100% whole wheat, meaning if you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient is 100% whole wheat. If you shop at Market Basket, my favorite bread is the Jessica's, I think it's called Jessica's Brick Oven, but I get the seeded one. It is delicious. It is soft. It has so many nutrients in there. All three of my children eat it, and me and my husband. I mean, it is just a fan favorite. It's good. Dave's Killer Bread is also a really good brand. I think it goes stale quickly, in my opinion, actually. But if that's what you can find and what you love, there is nothing wrong with it. That's a great brand, too. And then Trader Joe's has some good ones, too, and Whole Foods has their store brand, I think the honey oat, and their 100% whole wheat bread has 4 grams of protein per slice. So in a sandwich, that before you even add meat or anything else, there's 8 grams of protein there. And it's a good bread. That one's nice and soft and doesn't taste stale to me. Okay, a bento box, or some people call these adult Lunchables. Has anyone ever heard that? It's like a charcuterie board for lunch. Adult Lunchables. But basically, think of assembling things, like all of your favorite snacks together, without it being like on one plate, one meal. And you can buy one of these silly bento boxes, or you can just have things separate. But it's a great way for you to pick your protein, your fruit, your vegetable, your cracker, your cheese, and then have it without it being a whole big, like, I have to cook something for lunch. It's a great, like, end of the week type of thing. Use up what you have. Okay, now on to dinner ideas. A stir fry. Stir fry means quick cooking. That's part of the technique of stir frying things. So you use vegetables, you use meats that cook very quickly. High heat, little oil, and you keep it moving in the pan, okay? So if you do not like spending a lot of time in the kitchen, you don't want a recipe that takes a long time, stir fries are a great option because that is the technique of it, okay? There are a lot of great frozen bagged vegetables that are excellent in a stir fry. I love the Trader Joe's fire roasted peppers and onions. That's really good. And then there's a bird's eye one too that's cauliflower, carrot, onion, and pepper, I think. I think 4 things, might have peas too. But stir fries up beautifully. Doesn't go from like frozen to mushy, which some do in my opinion, but it works great. And those are wonderful things to have in the freezer for nights that you don't feel like chopping. Meat sauce, or bolognese, if you want to be real fancy, but it's pretty much the same thing, can be made in just 2 pots, 2 things you have to wash. I basically put everything, onions, carrots, celery, garlic in my food processor. Don't spend time chopping it when I'm making this because you want it as small as possible. So I put it in the food processor and blend, dump it in a pan with oil, add meat, whatever meat I'm using, turkey or beef or whatever, and then it's tomato paste, maybe a little bit of tomato puree, and season it up really good. That's it. And the longer it cooks, the better, but it's a way that it's a hot, nourishing meal that's actually really good for you, that doesn't feel like it should be that good for you because it tastes delicious and it's a good crowd pleaser, right? Like that's usually, even the pickiest of eaters sometimes will eat something like this, at least in my household. For pasta alternatives, I love the Barilla protein pasta. Has anyone used that before? I think it is absolutely the best texture. There's others out there that nutritionally are great. I just don't think the texture is as close to regular semolina pasta as it should be, like Banza, or there's some lentil ones out there too, or rice-based pastas. The Barilla Protein Plus is a mixture of chickpea and semolina. And I think that's why the texture is so much better. But it is really high in protein and great. Tacos, so this is a way where you can cook one thing and then the rest is assembly, okay? And I love meals like this. So you cook just the meat, everything else is assembly. You can buy store-bought guacamole, pico de gallo, pre-shredded cheese if you wanted to, and salsa, and then kind of assemble everything up if you wanted. It's another way for everyone in the household to have things like a little differently, but pretty much the same ingredients without making totally different meals. We do this every single week. We just change whether it's actually a taco, whether it's a taco salad, whether it's quesadillas, and then we change the meat. But every single week we have this, and I will for the rest of my life until someone in my household says, I can't eat it one more time. And it hasn't happened yet. And I do that just because it's easy. It's just a no-brainer. Okay, slow cooker ideas. So I'm talking about the slow cooker. I have a picture of the Instant Pot out here, but you can do it either way. I like slow cooker because I like to let it actually cook all day. But you guys are familiar with the Instant Pot? An electric pressure cooker. So you can do these things similarly, but they just take like 10 minutes instead of all day. But basically what I like is in my arsenal of recipes, a couple of recipes that are 5 ingredients or less I can throw in the crock pot, and that's it, okay? And here are like my top ones. So I'll do chicken, any kind, chicken breasts, chicken thighs, whatever, taco seasoning in salsa, like a half a jar, not too much liquid, let it cook all day, shred it up, it's perfect, okay? I do barbecue pulled pork, where I'll do a pork loin, sometimes I do a pork butt, it depends. Dry rub it, put it in the crock pot, no liquid. At the end of the day, shred it up, then add a little barbecue sauce, and it's perfect. I do these Italian chicken legs where I'll take chicken legs, put them in the crock pot, I'll do Italian seasoning, balsamic, and a little bit of honey, let them cook all day. When I get home at night, I carefully take them out so that they don't fall apart, because it is fall off the bone. And then I pop them under the broiler, and the skin gets nice and crispy, the honey caramelizes, the balsamic tastes so good on there, and they're excellent. And then you just make whatever side dishes you want. And then steak fajitas, I'll get sliced steak. I like the sliced steak, not the shaved steak for the crock pot. A bag of frozen peppers and onions, whatever your favorite seasoning is, and then I'll do a can of diced tomatoes or tomatoes with green chilies in there. These are all things that you can keep in your freezer and in your pantry and throw it together in 5 minutes or less. Okay, so now on to some snack ideas. So snacking, getting this concept down is really important. Let's go back to what a snack is. A snack is not a meal. It is something small, and it's just a little something to carry you from one meal to the next. Snacking does not have to be major, does not have to be complicated. It doesn't even really have to be something you put on your weekly meal planning sheet, okay? It's just a little something. If you feel like when 10 a.m. hits and 2 p.m. hits, you can't do anything until you have a snack. If that's your level of hunger, more likely than not, you're just not eating enough at your meals. You shouldn't feel that amount of hunger in between your meals. If you are, you're probably not eating enough, breakfast, lunch, or both, okay? So snacks should just be small. And keep it really simple. So I like to think of whole foods, a fruit, some cheese, some nuts. These protein balls are wonderful. Some olives, some crackers, like just a little something to take the edge off. That's the whole point of it. You can buy some prepackaged snacks that are great in terms of their nutrition and the quality of ingredients in there. When I started practicing, this was not the case. It was like I was telling someone, yeah, you can buy this granola bar that's gluten-free from this bakery in Colorado and they'll ship it overnight. Like there just wasn't options in the grocery store like there are now. Here are some of my favorites. I love Kind bars. I love Lara bars. I do like some jerky, some beef or chicken jerky. I love the roasted chickpeas, and you can get a whole bunch of different flavors of them now, like spicy ones or ranch or barbecue or whatever you like. And there's individual servings of everything, whether it's guacamole, peanut butter, hummus, anything like that, that just makes things convenient, okay? That's how simple I like to keep snacks. Okay, now I just want to briefly talk about volumetrics. Has anyone ever heard of this before, volumetrics? Volumetrics is a concept written by a scientist. Her name's Barbara Rolls, and basically she studies human behavior around what, when, and how much they eat. And through her studies, one of the things that she found that she calls volumetrics is basically how much weight people eat during the day to make them feel full and satisfied. So what she found out is that women eat about 3 pounds worth of food a day and men about 5 pounds worth of food a day. That has nothing to do with calories. That has nothing to do with grams of protein. That was purely just the weight of the food. That's when the person said, I'm full, I'm happy, I'm content, okay? So when these people ate what we are calling low energy density foods, they had a much larger portion of them, they felt better. These are foods that have less calories for a larger amount of weight or volume, okay? So think of things like broth-based soups, fruits, veggies, things that have a lot of air like popcorn, okay? Just takes up a lot of space. Versus when they had meals with high energy density foods. These are foods with a lot of calories and a really small portion size, okay? So think nuts, dried fruits, fats, sweets, okay? And it's not that the people, when they hit the 3 pounds of food or 5 pounds of food a day, didn't have these high energy density foods. They just didn't have as much in proportion. So basically your serving of almonds didn't look like your serving of broccoli, didn't look like your serving of chicken, things like that. All right, so now we're going to compare 2 snacks side by side, Wheat Thins, which is just like always a fan favorite, and strawberries. Does anybody know how many Wheat Thins are in a serving? Close. 16. 16 Wheat Thins, okay? It kind of sounds like a lot, but if you like stack them up, it's still like that much, right? It's not a lot of food. Could you eat 16 Wheat Thins in one sitting? Yeah, anyone could. It's not a lot of food. If you have those 16 Wheat Thins, that's one serving. It's 140 calories, and it weighs about 40-something grams, okay? What do you think the volume is of sliced strawberries you could eat for the same 140 calories? How many cups worth do you think? 3. 3 cups of sliced strawberries have the same amount of calories, 140, okay? Could you eat 3 cups of sliced strawberries in a sitting? Like maybe yes, maybe no. It is a lot more food than 16 Wheat Thins, okay? 3 cups of sliced strawberries weighs over 400 grams, okay? Your stomach feels the difference. 40 grams versus over 400 grams, you are going to feel different. Maybe you can eat those 3 cups of strawberries, but you're going to feel full. And after the 16 Wheat Thins, what are you going to say? I'll take another serving, and then where's the cheese, and I'll take the Diet Coke on top of it too, right? You just aren't satisfied, okay? So this is volumetrics in a nutshell. This is the concept of volumetrics. It's not that you never have Wheat Thins. It's that when you are having Wheat Thins, or any of those, what I call highly processed crunchy air, because there's just not much to them, whenever you are having snacks like that, you think about them differently. A serving of Wheat Thins isn't going to make you full. Could a serving of wheat thins be a great crunchy addition to your bento box that has a lot of other food in it? Yeah, it could be. But them themselves are not going to make you full. Okay? That's how I want you to think of them, versus demonizing some foods, saying some are just bad, because they're not. Okay, so factors that decrease the energy density, this is what we want more of. Foods that have more fiber, more water, more air, things that are going to take up space and actually physically fill the space in our stomach. That's going to make us feel full. And then factors that increase energy density, here's where we just practice that skill of mindfulness a little bit more. Okay? It's not that you can't have these, you just think about them a little differently. Foods that are higher in fat, processing, and then dehydration. Because think about it, you pull the water out, you're just left with less. Okay, so we're going to put a couple of these snack foods in order by calorie, all the same serving size, so it's 1 cup of each of these. First, let's start with the most. Which one of these? We have raisins, sunflower seeds, grapes, plain popcorn, and M&Ms. Which one do you think has the most amount of calories? M&Ms. Yep, 1,020 calories for a cup. What do you think comes after that? Nuts, yes. Sunflower seeds, 850 a cup. Almonds or bigger nuts like walnuts or something are more like 750, 800. What do you think comes after that?
Raisins.
Raisins, yes. 500 calories a cup. What do you think comes after that?
Raisins.
Grapes, yeah, kind of related to raisins, right? So 1 cup of grapes, 60 calories, okay? You take the water out, you're left with a lot less. So you can't think about raisins and grapes in the same way. And then last we have plain popcorn. So before you've got the movie theater butter on it, like just popcorn is 30 calories a cup. There's not much to it. Okay, let's do it one more time with a dinner idea, okay? Pasta primavera, basically just a pasta dish with a lot of vegetables. Say this is your family's favorite recipe. This is a staple. This is something that you're going to have every other week or something like that. You don't want to give it up. If you love something that much, you shouldn't give it up. But how can you think about it? Maybe alter the recipe a little bit through the lens of volumetrics. You can decrease the amount of pasta, but you're not pulling it out completely. Maybe you slightly decrease the amount of cheese, increase the amount of vegetables, add more to it, okay? Eliminate something like the cream sauce. Maybe you do some olive oil and garlic or a red sauce or something like that that you just don't need as much of to fully coat everything. And you can still have it, okay? Which plate, right or left, visually, would you rather have?
Right.
Most people say right. Most people say right, and usually because it does look better, right? More color, flavor, texture, and also what Barbara Rolls, part of her discoveries, it's more food. It's more food. That plate is more full, okay? All right, so that's volumetrics in a nutshell. So basically we talked about why is it important to plan, at least getting yourself organized for the week. We talked about ideas for breakfast, lunch, snacks, and then this concept of volumetrics to have in the back of your mind, which is going to help you eat a more nutrient-dense diet, a diet that's higher in fiber, and is going to make you full. Because if you're hungry in between your meals, you're gonna snack more than necessary, and that's what we want to avoid, okay? So just things to help keep you well nourished. Okay, does anyone have any questions? None? Come on, any burning nutrition questions about anything? Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on diet sodas?
That's a great question. So my thoughts on diet sodas is I do believe foods have a time and a place. I don't think that diet sodas every day or even every week is really going to put anyone in a healthier spot. It's just not because of the artificial sweeteners that are in there. But is one Diet Coke here or there going to harm someone's health? No, it's not. But a diet high in sucralose, which is Splenda, asulfame potassium, which is another artificial sweetener, aspartame, those things, yes, they have been proven to be harmful to your health. So it depends on how much and how often?
Everything in moderation.
So with that, what do you think of stevia?
Say it one more time.
What do you think of stevia?
Oh,
as a
great question.
sweetener?
So stevia is a more natural, I'm putting it in quotes because it's still very processed, more natural sweetener because it comes from a plant. The plant looks like mint. It's from the sunflower seed family. You can grow it in your backyard, even here in New England, pull a leaf off, chew on it. It does taste pretty sweet. However, we take this plant and then we put it through all this processing and pull out an extract and then process the extract and then put it into a lot of different foods. And what is that going to mean for us in 50 years? I don't know. I don't know. Do I like stevia? Do I feel like it's a more safe alternative? I do. I do. But if someone, like when I work with someone one-on-one, we're looking at everything you eat in a week. If I see 25 foods that are sweetened with stevia, yeah, I don't like that. But if it's in your favorite coffee creamer that you have a tablespoon of every morning or something, like, okay, that's a much more reasonable place to have it. Or a protein shake 2 times a week, it's in the protein powder, that's more reasonable. So it's safer than the artificial sweeteners, but again, it's how much and how often.
Do you have a recommended or preferred type of oil for sautéing like meats and vegetables?
Absolutely, 100% extra virgin olive oil, every single time. Yep, I don't worry about the smoke point. It can't smoke, so don't turn your pan on high, add your olive oil, turn your back and chop your onion. Don't do that. Heat your pan, when it's nice and hot, add 100% extra virgin olive oil, throw your veggies and your meat right in. It's perfectly fine. If you do need something for higher heat, say you're putting it in a marinade because the steak's going on the grill, or you're going to broil something under the oven or something like that, then I do avocado oil. That has a higher smoke point. If you do not like the taste of olive oil, which some people don't, then just do avocado oil because it is neutral. It doesn't really have a flavor. But those are my top 2, the only 2 I buy. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, hopefully you're leaving here with at least some inspiration, okay? Some new things to make and maybe buy and try for this upcoming season. There's my email and then my website too. If you have any questions in the future, if you're thinking that maybe this is something that you want to do working one-on-one, feel free. You can reach out to me. Consider me always a resource for you guys. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. One more?
How dangerous is trans fats?
Oh, I love this question. How dangerous is trans fat? Man-made trans fat is extremely dangerous. I say all foods fit, that's the exception to the rule. You should not have trans fat at all. Has anyone ever heard of that before? Trans fat?
Yes.
It is the worst type of fat. It's margarine. It's basically, we've taken, this was in the 70s and the 80s, vegetable oil and put it through this process called hydrogenation, where we pumped hydrogen atoms at it, and we made it semi-solid at room temperature, okay? So think margarine, think Crisco, things like that, because we were told butter's bad. That is going to lower your HDL cholesterol, which is your good protective cholesterol, and raise your bad one, which is called LDL, okay? You should have none of it. How do you know if it's in a food that you are having? You look at the ingredient list, and if you see that word hydrogenation, put it back down in the store and walk the other way, okay? It's that bad. But that's how you'll see it. Don't look at trans fat, 0 grams. Look at the ingredients. And if you see the word hydrogenated, sometimes it says fully hydrogenated soybean oil, partially hydrogenated coconut oil, doesn't matter. If you see hydrogenated, that's trans fat. Don't have it. There's so many other options now. Good question.
I guess I have one.
Just as a curiosity, in some of the slides, I saw that you had organic, whatever it was. Is there a reason why, or is it preferenced by you to have organic? There was organic, I think, barbecue sauce that was listed, or organic mayo or something.
when you get to a processed and packaged food like that, seeing organic means there's no trans fat. It means there's no high fructose corn syrup. So it like checks a couple boxes off for me, that then you don't have to say, well, this is trans fat and how to find it, and here's high fructose corn syrup and how to find it. So in some of those processed foods, yeah, I just quickly say, get organic if you can, because I know you're not going to have those things. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, I default to the Environmental Working Group, which is a third-party organization that tests fruits and vegetables when they're washed and ready to eat every single year, and they put a list out, usually in like April, and they test for the amount and the types of pesticides still on foods where you eat them. So they don't test the outside of a banana, only the inside type of thing. And I go by that. So any food that ends up on that dirty dozen list, I recommend buying organic.
Good question.
Yeah, great questions. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Well, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I'm always a resource for you guys. If you have any questions, then feel free to reach out at any time. Okay, thank you guys.